I can get me a forum here to go with it. Counselor Warner, you want to go ahead and do the invocation while the others come on?
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. We thank you for this time. We thank you for this fellowship, Lord. We ask that you put a hedge of protection around this body and around the folks of the Cherokee Nation. Lord, we just ask that you remind us that the business that we conduct is your business, first and foremost, Lord. And I ask that you pour in your wisdom and your patience and your civility as we go throughout the day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, Shelley.
Yes, ma'am. Janice Taylor.
Here.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Gil England.
Honey.
Harley Buzzer. Joe Bird.
Honey.
Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Mike Dobbins.
Here.
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Dick Lay.
Here.
Mike Shambaugh.
Here.
Mary Bakershaw.
Here.
E.O. Smith.
Here.
Victoria Vasquez. David Walkingstick. Brian Warner.
Honey.
We go with Warner.
Alrighty, I trust you have all poured over the minutes from September 28th. Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from September 28th. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Brings up Sean Slayton with CMB. It's been a little while since he's been here, so tell us something good.
Good afternoon. Well, businesses are doing very good. I want to commend our employees for a great last quarter of the year, and started off, I saw the revenue reports for October yesterday, and they're even better than last year. So when you have a $300 million investment come in the community and in the job in the gaming market, like happened last year, and for our people to pull off what we did this year, it was a fantastic year, and I just commend them on every front. Our diversified businesses ended up with $1.1 billion in contract wins for 2017. Now, 2009 we had zero. That's when it was started. So my hat's off to Stephen Bilby and his crew for what they've been able to accomplish and the good things that they're doing for our U.S. government. And one of these afternoons, I might have him come down and kind of give you a 5-minute overview of what they're doing and the kind of things that they're into. And I think you'd really find some of that interesting. So a couple of things that are going on. If any of you are going to the Bad Company concert tonight, wanted to let you know that as a result of the incident in Vegas, we've been revisiting all of our security and surveillance efforts and procedures and policies, and we're going to be strengthening them. And one of the things that we're doing is we are going to have some dogs that are drug dogs, gun dogs, explosive dogs. We've contracted out with some handlers, and they'll be going through the casinos periodically and starting tonight. And they're meant for everyone's protection, and in addition to that, there'll be some other things that we're adding over the next couple of months to try to take that to the next level, given the environment that the world is in today. Some of this is not stuff that we would have done last year or the year before or before that, but I think you see around the country and around the world people going to an additional level to try to protect our guests and our employees. And so if somebody calls in and says there's something going on at Hard Rock, they've got dogs here, it's one dog, and there's nothing prompted that except out of an abundance of caution. We are putting some stuff on social media today, I believe, and just trying to get the word out so that people aren't concerned when they come tonight. But that will be something that becomes a standard thing if all goes well and we don't have any reason not to. And then as we add these things, I'll report back to you on what some of them are. Some of them will be, confidential things, but certainly that incident is foremost in our minds, and we were lucky. We had just 2 people out there. The next day we were supposed to have probably 20. It was the annual G2E gaming show, and they weren't due to come out until Monday afternoon or Monday morning. So very thankful that everyone was safe that we knew and we know about. This morning before I came, I was visiting again on the Tahlequah Casino, and I can tell you that we've settled on a site plan and a building floor footprint. Next phase of that will be designing that and getting it to us, and it'll consist of a hotel and, a hotel, casino and hotel, I'm wrong, casino and event center, multipurpose event center, with a space for phase 2 of a hotel if we decide that we need to do that. And there'll also be a nice restaurant steakhouse in there that we either franchise out or that we run sort of like Flint Creek at West Siloam. So we're very excited to get that on the road and in drawing stage, and we've yet to determine how we want to build that, whether in phases, stages, or wait until all the drawings are complete and then get started on it. But we'll be making that decision shortly. Also out there on Highway 62, ODOT is requiring us to widen that turn in and put in some additional signals there. So we'll have to begin work on that by probably March 1st if we don't want to work through the winter. The Hard Rock expansion is moving along. The contract with the architect is being completed as we speak, and we'll begin to design that. This phase of it, we've decided, will just be a replacement of the sprung structure. That structure was our first thing up there that we did, and it's been there probably 20 years, going on 20, and the life expectancy of the sprung structures is 20 years. So it's time for us to take that down and replace it. It will have a restaurant in there. It will have an expanded dance floor kind of nightclub feel to it, with a stage and where bands can play and people can sit, much like Grove and Ramona and Fort Gibson area, as well as Rowland. So we're moving forward with that and are excited to get that one off the ground too. With that, I'll close and be happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
I have one. On that multi-purpose facility,
Yes, sir.
and we talked about that one time, will that be built where we could have like the Trail of Tears drama?
The inside of it and what can be done in there has yet to be designed.
Okay.
So I would say that whatever is decided that Tahlequah needs at this stage of the game, we can accommodate that. I think we'll be visiting with people and folks and seeing for sure what that needs to look like and what it should handle. I do think we're shooting for about 800 sit-down dinners or sit-down dinner, and it'll have some sort of kitchen, and we're trying to figure out whether it's just a prep kitchen or a full-blown production kitchen.
Counselor Crittenden?
Sean, have you, on the dogs, is there gonna be some more security guard positions open?
I think, Sean, that's part of the plan that's coming up. That's still being designed. We're going to bring in some people to kind of go through our facilities that, experienced at a high level in other venues, and then come up with a plan that best fits our environment plus the world environment.
Right, and just like the drug dogs, I mean, some of them dudes can sniff old residue, being in schools there. They can smell it on clothes just if, in passing. And I'm not saying any of those folks go to our casinos. But,
Your students?
but I can see possibly that dog goes through there, maybe some residue on a whole lot of people, maybe not a whole lot of people. I'm not saying there will be, but
Well, I'll just tell you this. Whenever the dog walks in, I told him I want to watch the video of the
Yeah.
exits
Right.
and see what happens.
thank you.
Now, those dogs are multi-purpose dogs, so, but, people don't know what the purpose of them is.
Right. Yeah, it might take care of itself.
It might take care of itself, yeah.
David, did you have?
Yes. Hey, Sean, how much more money do you see or revenue coming in with this new Town Hall Casino than what's already in existence?
There'll be some lift, but I don't know that it'll be a lot of lift with it, David. The promise was made to the council years ago that whenever we got financially stable, that we would donate that for the immersion school or whatever and build somewhere else. The original site was down on the corner, but with the closing of the Katua Casino there, that's an absolute home run, perfect site for that.
Yeah. I know the part that concerns me is you and Chuck coming to the council and you're falling slightly below the goal from last year. And I know you guys have been booming since the last 6 years I've been on the council. You guys have been hitting home runs since day one. And I know now the competition is coming into play, and we're starting to see the effects of that. And I know I talked to you and some other people. Diversification is on your radar, on your map, on your businesses. But just I'm not a businessman by no means, but I always like capital improvements, and especially in the heart of the Cherokee Nation. But it's financially, it's hard to justify building. What's the total project you think on this?
We haven't got to that yet. It's just currently in design.
I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. Is
Yeah.
financially, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I will tell you this, that last year was a fantastic year. You said we fell a little bit short. I
The last
consider
4 months. That's the last 4 months. It just been a little bit below, and I think the forecast is it's not going to get better in gaming. I think we've tapped it out. We've maximized what we got in gaming. And I might discredit what you guys done. I'm just saying, last 4 months, and with our competition, we're starting to see some of those effects.
yeah.
But with the Tahquah Casino going from over there to there, I guess the part where Cherokee Plaza, where we're calling that, it's hard to make sense of it financially.
Well, we go through a business case study on all of those, and if it didn't make business sense, we wouldn't do it.
Okay.
And we feel strongly that that's a good location. The development is coming along. We're being very selective on what we're allowing in there. We've got multiple offers to go in there and do different things, and we purchased that in part for a long-term thing for the nation.
Sure.
It was the last big parcel around, and so we could have already had it full, but I'm not sure that's the real purpose of it at the time.
Yeah.
But all of those things will complement that as well, and I think in the end everybody's going to be very happy with what's built
Sure.
there, and it'll
Nice.
serve a need for everything.
Facility.
In terms of the gaming market in Tulsa, if that's the area you're referring to, is maturing, and now it's a fight for market share. Any growth that you get in the gaming market will be at someone's expense. And the $300 million from the creeks came in, and there were different projections from third-party people on how much that would affect the Hard Rock. And again, we've not let that happen. And we had to spend a little more money, but they haven't taken very much, if anything, on our revenue. Now to keep that, we had to spend more money keeping the players happy and reinvesting in them than what we've had to in years before. So anyway, we believe that Tahlequah Casino will be a good project.
Well, anyways, I think diversification is key somehow. I don't know what that looks like. I'm sure you guys got.
Good things are going there. I just said we had a 1.1 billion in new contract wins this year for diversification.
I mean, those are government 8A contracts, though.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about like businesses, like getting into, I don't know, ranching or going into theaters or stores. I mean, I'm talking about business. I'm not talking about government contracts.
Well, the acquisitions that we've been focused on or looking at are acquisitions or things that would bring a good bottom line to the nation. The convenience stores, we can make a little, we can provide some jobs. They compete with other Cherokee people and other taro vendors in the community, so we really have to be careful there. Movies and theaters, we've talked about adding that to the Hard Rock, and at some point, I think we'll do that. The mall thing, I'm very thankful that we didn't come out of the ground on that. It was a fantastic concept, but when you look around the United States, I think there was only one outlet mall built last year, and that's because retail has collapsed. The internet has just killed it. And if you are wanting to do a project like that and you try to go get it financed, the banks just shut the door in your face because, they're terrified of what the internet's doing to the retail market right now. So I hear you on diversification, and as we see opportunities come up, we're going to be all over those. At C&I, we're seeing good results coming there. I believe last year we had like 21 million in contract wins, and this year we had right at 80 million. So, those things take a little bit of time to ramp up, and the people that are over at C&I have given a heck of an effort to kind of turn things around and get things moving the right direction. So I think over the course of the next year, still good things are coming for the businesses.
All right, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Chair.
Counselor Austin?
I'm fine.
Okay. Counselor Bakershaw?
Something that I think that could rev up the Hard Rock would be promotion of the golf course. I don't know how many golfers we have here, but we're talking about one of the best in the world did the golf course.
The course is doing well. It's well kept. The people that play it like it. The good players, the players like me don't. But and it's an asset. It's a great amenity for us. We do promote that through the hotel and things like that. I believe we want to keep the rounds down to 17 or 18,000 a year, so we don't wear that course out. We could, if we dropped our fee, we could do 25,000 rounds, but what you would see would not be what's there today with that kind of play.
Could you tell them a little bit about the course designer?
The course originally was a Perry Maxwell course, and he's a famous golf course designer around the United States, if not the world, and we bought that from Spunky Creek. Bob Berry actually negotiated that for us when Jerry Holderby was still the CEO. And then with the original property hotel that we built, we added another 9 holes and repositioned some of that, and still it was with a designer out of Norman that follows the Perry Maxwell theory or school of golf design. So we tried to maintain that same theory, that same design across all those courses.
Are you done, Counselor Bakershaw?
No, but I would have a suggestion, a spa.
spa.
We have a spa.
We just
Have a spa
opened
there?
that, yeah.
Okay, good.
And,
I need to go to the
you
spa.
I was
do
gonna
need
say,
to come to
I
that
think she
spa.
needs a spa day.
I think everybody needs to come to the spa, so if you'll give me a shout and make arrangements, you can't promote what you don't know. And, you know, I apologize to you for not making sure that you were aware of that as a new council member.
Awesome.
We don't talk about it a lot because it's an amenity for the hotel. It's not commercial. We don't advertise that for commercial business yet. But we built that in the new pool and it was very well received.
I want to piggyback on, Councilor Walkenstick was talking about, you know, the competition coming in. And some of the things that I have noticed in recent months, in the last year, is a lot of times our expenses are coming in under what was projected. And there's a lot of ways to make money in business, and you can make it by not spending as much. And so, obviously, your folks are very cognizant of, you know, keeping expenses in check too. So that's just something I had observed. Okay, Councilor Crittenden.
Sean, another thing, I've mentioned it to other people, is I see a market still for the paper bingo kind of in my area. Had a lot of folks call me on that, and you know, just being from the area, I know some used to have it at Siloam, of course, and I know other things make more money. But is that still on the table at all?
Well, bingo is, and we do some of that up at the Hard Rock. I don't know if we're doing any at Roland, but paper bingo, probably not so much. There's a lot of security things that go along with that bingo paper. But what is really popular is electronic bingo. And as part of this new expansion at Hard Rock, we're looking at a room that would be a multi-purpose room that would allow us to do bingo there. If that's successful, then I think we would look at rolling that out at select sites. But to your point, it is very popular. It's not a lot of money made on it, but it brings a lot of people to the casino, and when they're through playing bingo, they might want to spend some money somewhere else.
Any hope for some of the communities that don't necessarily have or want casinos? But
We haven't looked at that. I'd have to scratch my head on that one.
I appreciate you. I mentioned it to Stephen the other day, and he wasn't quite sure,
Yeah.
you know, about how to go about it. But
With the paper bingo, it's just really hard to control. There's just lots of room for manipulation on that. And so you end up spending so much money trying to keep that happen, you don't make any money.
Thank
We
you.
were glad to get out of that and into the games, let me put it that way.
I want to commend your valet department. They're the best in the world.
Thank you.
I've been a lot of places, and every time I go there, usually for a board meeting or just to go to the Hard Rock for other things. They are friendly, helpful, and I told them the last time I was there that I would, next meeting, I would brag on them. So would you, and I told them that I would tell you, and you would go back and tell them.
I will tell them
Okay,
that, and I
thank you.
appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Your staff as well, I mean, they need to be commended. You have a very good staff there,
Thank you.
and other places
Thank you.
as well, but thank you.
Councilor Lay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sorry, Lay.
Do we own or have an option on property in Arkansas?
No, sir.
And follow up on what Chief Bird was talking about, the idea up here is to have a theater, multi-use type
A multi-purpose,
purpose.
kind of an event center where they can, host conferences and things like that.
And also possibly do either the old theater type setting or music, or what, is it going to be
Well,
seated?
That's kind of what's going to be decided. The footprint is kind of already set, but how you arrange the inside for what type of events, that's still up in the air. Haven't got that yet.
Thank you.
Someone like that.
Is there a market here for, like, I know, like in Vegas, they have, an entertainer goes, they will be there for several weeks or a month or whatever. Is there a market there maybe for Tahlequah to, like, maybe have, I don't know what you would call it, maybe a theater group that would be part of the casino, like a speaker mentioned, like, something that would pertain to our tribe, perhaps the Trail of Tears drama. I know that's a very extensive drama. It would take a lot of work. Is there anything like that?
I
Or would
would
that
think
even
if
be?
you did that, that would be in the multipurpose room. Really doesn't have a place in the casino. The music thing we've looked at, we haven't found anybody that we want to invite to tie up the joint for any period of time yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Going once. This time's valuable.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. We'll see you in November. All right, Lacey, you're up.
I've been thinking about bingo daubers.
Hey. A lot of
We're all
people do.
excited, and then I heard that it was not really happening. Good afternoon. So, two things I want to update you on that I have been working on is in 2015 I received 2 appointments. One by the chairman of the Government Accounting Standards Board to sit on a financial reporting task force. They are looking at new accounting theories for which governments will now report their financials. And so they've gone through this several years long process of developing these theories and putting these out for comments by state, local governments, as well as academics, users of financial statements, banks, whoever is considered a stakeholder. And so I was invited to sit on this committee, and it convenes every September, and I'm the only tribal representative at the table. And it's been pretty inspiring because they are looking to hear what the tribes are interested in as far as financial reporting goes. And you have to imagine that reporting for the Cherokee Nation is a much more complex situation than reporting for a local government. And I got one of my town trustees here, so Councilor Smith, you can see how reporting for the town of Ian is very different than reporting for the Cherokee Nation. We're just such a dynamic entity. In total, we occupy the government space, obviously. We act as a corporation. We act as a nonprofit. We act as a foundation in many ways. We have many component units that flow up underneath the nation. And so I just wanted to mention that I had gone to that meeting and received positive response for the feedback. I do work with our controller, Jamie Cole, and Connie Chandler, Connie does the financial report for the tribe every year. And so we took up some good feedback through that. I also was appointed by the Secretary of the Treasury in 2015 to serve on the Treasury Tribal Advisory Committee. And although this committee has not been officially seated, it's a 7-member committee. There's 6 of us currently, and the 7th member is hung up in the federal appointments process, federal tax and background check right now. We've gone ahead and met with Treasury and taken an economic development tax agenda to them to be considered in tax reform. So they have that. I've shared that with my TTAC colleagues, and they are meeting with those on the Hill and having these conversations as we speak. So I spent the last summer working on building this economic development tax agenda in conjunction with CNB, in conjunction with the 5 tribes, with academics, and a whole host of other stakeholders that know that the tribes are truly the economic drivers in these rural communities. And if it wasn't for the tribes, we would be economically devoid. And so I do believe that we have a lot of people who are interested in helping us with our tax agenda. And so I just want to let you know that we've been keeping our pulse on that as well. That seems to be a fast-moving train. It does appear that both Secretary Mnuchin as well as Congress and the Senate are very intent on ensuring that tax reform is passed by the end of this year. So there's a lot of work to be done in a very short period of time, but do know that we are trying to carry those messages up. mostly just business as usual. We've closed out from fiscal year 17. We're continuing to close that out. It takes 6 months to close the books for the Cherokee Nation, which is typical of most governments. And so we'll have an audit on those 17 financials at the end of March, as we always do. And we are working on purchase orders and kicking off fiscal year 18. There's a lot of activity that happens at the end of the year and the beginning of the fiscal year, as you can imagine. And so I want to commend my staff for staying on top of that. Meanwhile, dealing with auditors, it feels like we always have an auditor here, and we're always looking to improve our processes and ensure that the nation has the most state-of-the-art financial functions and process that we possibly can. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions that you might have.
Does anybody have any questions of the treasurer? Okay. Guess you can go back down home.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, brings us to Career Services and Diane Kelly. I have to tell you, I loved your highlight of the reintegration person in the report this time. That was truly, it is never too late to get on the right path.
Well, thank you,
That's
thank
awesome.
you. We are trying to share information on what we're doing as far as expanding a lot of our networking. Several of us were in a meeting this morning downtown with 4 counties, and a lot of good information was shared there, and we learned a few things from some of the state people, and they learned some things from us. So it doesn't hurt to meet with these people once in a while and collaborate, because it just strengthens our ability to be able to go out and do more for our Cherokee people. We are holding a diversified job fair in Veneta today. There was 18 businesses. We started out with, I think, 6, and as word got out, they kept calling and saying, we want to come in and help. I didn't get an opportunity to go up there. The boys left here about 6 or 6:30 this morning to head up there, and I think everything was going pretty well. Did you go by there?
I did not get a chance
Okay.
to. I had
But we had a lot of good people call and ask us about it, so hopefully there'll be some people get some jobs as a result of it. Dish is the new business in Tulsa. It's a call center that's going to be working with us, and we worked with them on Tuesday. We had staff up there. We're recruiting with Sean's group, Stephen Bilby's group, on some FEMA monies that they got. We're working with them on trying to recruit some people for that. We had a job fair in Muskogee at the Civic Center yesterday with Workforce. Workforce actually spearheaded it. We actually were one of the partners in the meeting, and there will be some information in next month's monthly report about that. We have 2 projects that we got hit with. One was in Jay. We were asked to come to Jay last Friday to meet with a wood chip business. Councilman Buzzard and Councilman Shambaugh were also there. It looks like it's probably going to happen. It's a wood venture. They are looking at some property that's there in the industrial park across the road, so we'll be working with them on that project. We have another project called Project Nickel, and then we also have a project in Salisaw that we're working on. So we got hit with 3 projects in addition to the others that we're working on. So there's jobs out there, and I had a discussion with Marcia earlier today about a lot of the clientele that we're working with. If anybody wants to work, we can put them to work. There's jobs out there. We're busy moving some of our staff around. The health department stole a couple of my people, so we're having to move some other people around. And then Brenda and Daryl with their new grants will be bringing some people on board, so we're busy trying to get all that up and running. We're still looking at training needs that we're going to have to do with the new health facility as well as IT. As I told you maybe earlier, that we had a meeting with the health department and our IT department. We'll have a follow-up meeting. We're trying to develop a training facility in-house that will meet some of the short-term needs of what they're going to need, and then we're also looking at some of the scholarships and earmarking them for some of the more critical positions that they're going to need for the health area. So we're in dialogue, we're working on this, and I know Councilwoman Taylor had asked about that. So we are working on it. It is a priority with us, health and IT, and Secretary Hoskin is also kind of spearheading that and making sure that we don't fall in the cracks, that we keep moving on it. So maybe we'll be able to share some more positive information with you on it in the weeks to come. That's my report.
Councilor Hargis?
And I know one of the employees that Health took was our receptionist in the Stillwell office, Miss Angie. Do we plan to replace her with a full-time employee? I know we have program workers in there right now.
Yes, one of the things that we were doing, Councilwoman Hargis, was we were waiting for the new fiscal year to start, October 1. So now that October 1's here, we got news about these other grants, so we had to start writing job descriptions, and we have a deadline to meet to try to get those in place. But I've had meetings with the directors, and we are getting ready to fill most all those positions.
Good deal. Thank you. Anything else for Diane?
I'll be back.
Thank you. All right, Anna, you're up.
You have a copy of my report. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't have any figures for you on MAP at this time. Since we're trying to look at the timing, it's taking us a little bit longer, so. But we're working on it.
Thank you.
I do have some questions that are in your report, but I may need, Willard, and it's really a matter of curiosity, it's dealing with certified Indian-owned businesses, and the Taro complaints and the EEOC complaints. I wondered if you could give me a general, what typically those are. Not who filed them or anything like that, but do the majority of them fall under a particular umbrella, or?
The Taro complaints are mostly vendor, I didn't get the bid, why didn't I get the bid?
That's what I figured.
So that's those complaints. The EEOC, I really can't discuss open their employment, their employees complaining that they were harassed or discriminated or against by their employer.
Employees of Cherokee Nation or employees of Taro certified businesses?
The Taro office has a contract with the EEOC office to take those complaints within this area. And so we act as the local Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's why we have those in there.
Okay, and I had one other question, and it is actually on the following page, and maybe I've been asleep, but it looks like only 60% of our procurement opportunities went to Taro vendors during this time frame, and I thought at one time it was up in the like 90%, and I think I've got everybody in the room here that can speak to that right now.
The government's always been up in the 90%. It usually is in the 70s or low 80% for the combined. One of the issues that we're having is they've had some personnel turnover with C&E, and so we're not getting reporting from them right now, and that contributed to the total. So they're working on that, and hopefully, I would hope next month they may have it figured out to where they can report.
Okay, and I did notice several times in here it says not updated for C&E and CMD. Is this a temporary thing?
It's a
and
temporary thing.
You're on top of it?
It is.
Okay.
Because of a personnel change, and now they're trying to figure out a way to more automate it so it can come out of their system instead of an individual trying to calculate it. So they're trying to work some of those bugs out.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, that's all I have. Does the council have other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Anna, thank you. Okay, we're going to move down to our consent items and the Taro certifications. For some reason, we have got a list in your book that needs to be approved, and then there is an additional new list here, and I'm not sure if these people didn't get the paperwork in on time or just what the deal is, why we're bringing these in separate.
One, two lists.
That's why I said I'd be back. We were asked to look at a business for a joint venture, and then it came in as a mentor protege, and it was referred to the AG's office. And we had another company that came in, and they were both looking at some bids that were going to be let. And they asked about the fact that they were told that we had the autonomy to pull our certification committee together, and we can. if there's going to be some bids that maybe they would actually be able to compete for. And we had about 6, 7 or something that were in the pipeline, so we added those together, and we said that we could pull it together, and we did. We had an additional certification committee meeting. This is nothing uncommon or not new. We've done it in the past. In fact, this is probably the 3rd or 4th time we've done it. And that was the whole idea for us having a certification committee that we could pull together, and they wouldn't be spread out from here to Kingdom Come. And we actually referred to the AG's office on one of them, and they responded and actually came in to meet with our certification committee, and from there, we looked at the applications, and they're in your packet for recommendation.
Madam Chair, on these joint ventures, that's this additional 2 pages, correct?
Yes, sir.
Just one on that.
There's just one on there.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion, we table that one. Joint ventures kind of don't really fare real well with me right now, so I've had a little bit further review. I'm just not real comfortable with it right now, so I'll make a motion.
I'll second on table it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any discussion? Do you have something relevant to that, or is it just?
I did, actually, I wanted to know what that meant, mentor, protege, as opposed to joint venture. I mean, what's the difference?
The joint venture and mentor protege are kind of analogous terms. So what the request of our office was to look and review the actual Tarot law to see, based upon a discrepancy by one of the folks who submitted an application to be certified, about whether or not joint ventures could be certified under the Tarot law. After we reviewed, the existing law, we determined that the definition for what type of entity that can be certified is very broad, and that was inconsistent with the general provisions, which are the Tarot policy drafted by the Tarot office. And so we're working right now with our Tarot office to put together some revisions to accommodate joint ventures, because it is permissible business entity under the current law.
My question is, what is it? What is a mentor protege? What does that mean?
A mentor protege is essentially just a joint venture where you have 2 entities work together and combine resources to perform a Tarot project.
And what's the difference between that and a joint venture?
In my view, they're essentially the same thing. A joint venture is where you have 2 entities that come together to perform a project. In this case, you have a larger corporation and a smaller corporation that come together and share assets and perform work, which is a business entity no different than having 2 individuals form like a limited liability corporation and engage in work on a project.
Thank you.
I know that we have had similar business arrangements win bids with Cherokee Nation. Why is this the first joint venture that's been Tarot certified, and why is it necessary for this particular joint venture to be Tarot certified in an emergency situation when we have other similar business arrangements winning the bids? I
can't speak to other joint venture applications that have come through in the past. I know that this is not a new issue. The question of joint ventures has surfaced, at least since I've worked with Tarot in 2015. This particular one is the first one that I'm aware of where there was some considerable pushback. And as you know, under the Tarot law, there is a provision that allows a decision of denial to be appealed to the Administrative Appeals Board. And so in that regard, when we reviewed the law in the AG's office, we determined that we could not support a position that joint ventures are categorically excluded, which is what the current version of the Tarot general provisions, which is the policy based upon the law, requires. So I can't speak to why the previous joint ventures were not certified, but I can say that it is a permissible business entity to be certified under the law.
Just quick. Have either one of these, a joint or a protege, have they ever been approved before?
They've never been approved because of the general provisions has a categorical prohibition on all joint ventures. That is the problem that our office had with its interpretation of the law, which was more narrow than what the law provides for. Now, there were older versions of the general provisions that gave some sort of preference to joint ventures, but not necessarily TARO certification.
If I could jump in here, when the Taro was started back in the 80s, actually, it's been amended twice. And that was one of the things that I pointed out, was that it was amended when the Attorney General was your lawyer. And there was a subcommittee that worked on it, and we had to put the provisions in place, which is your general operating procedures, based on what the law said. And we actually have ran those through. It was also amended again after your attorney became the AG's office, and Elizabeth Odell worked with us on that. So it's not like it's something that we just dreamed up.
Sure.
The law's there, and we have the operating procedures. If they're weak, we need to go back in and redefine. And that's basically what our AG is telling us, based on the application that came through. You know, you can do two things. You can do this or you can do this, but you may end up in your administrative appeals court. Right now, based on what the recommendation of the AG's office is, the certification committee went on ahead and approved it. But it has to come back through you all for the concurrence and approval before it's actually certified as a business. But one of the other things that happens that you may not be aware of, for you that are new on the council, when someone is certified, they are actually on probation for the first year. So, irregardless, they have to come back in and be recertified every year. It's our understanding that this mentor protege is coming through for a specific project, which means that if they come in later for another project, they'll have to come back in. And we should have some procedures in place on how they will be monitored. Right now, we don't have that in place, but based on the recommendation from the Attorney General's office, the certification committee went forward and went on ahead and approved it.
Right, and that's the problem, is the general provisions as they are currently drafted, which is the policy adopted by the TARO office, is based upon this idea that a joint venture could never be certified, which is not consistent with the law. So moving forward, what I think the TARO office has asked my assistance on is to help them put together the appropriate safeguards, the appropriate review process, recertification process that would apply to joint ventures as it has been excluded prior to this time.
And my question, which I still don't have a solid answer to, is I know we have TARO vendors that for bonding purposes or whatever have to join with a larger vendor that is not TARO certified, and they're winning bids. Why do we have to, why the difference on this particular one?
It's my understanding that the only circumstance when TARO would accept that is if they came together and formed an individual company, a limited liability company. A joint venture
LLC.
a joint venture is a legal entity, much like a corporation. It's just a little bit different. So the prohibition has been up to this point of you can come together, but you have to come together in this specific way of creating a corporation. And that is not supported by the law.
Well, if your Cherokee-owned business is TARO certified, you can get an LLC overnight. I don't understand why it's necessary to TARO certify a Cherokee vendor wanting to partner with another entity. That's, and maybe I'm thick-headed. I just am not understanding.
And for the record, I believe this particular vendor was told that that would be the best route to go at the time. And basically, he challenged the law to us, and that's when we went to the Attorney General's office for an opinion.
And the issue would be is he could do that, but the law doesn't give us the authority to make him do that, because there's other ways for him to achieve certification as it is currently written.
Councilor Anglin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Diane, you know, I've been around a long time and
Oh, yes.
was an old TARO contractor.
Yes,
So
sir.
where I have heartburn with this is I look at the names and I see what we're trying to do. We're trying to get a small guy married into a big company that's going to be really the person in charge. And I'm not sure that this same big company hasn't done the same thing over on the Osage side, doing work over there. I'm not real positive. I don't have. I just have heartburn with this, because, you know, I come back from the old school to where you make it on your own. You don't pony up with some big contractor to get where you want to be, and then that big contractor just pushes you off to the side, and you have no say whatsoever. He's only using this Indian-owned guy to get his business certified. I mean, this big company is. And I know exactly what y'all are all saying about the bonding, because, you know, I couldn't hardly bond stuff either when I was fairly young and everything, and that was a long time ago. But I built my bonding capacity up to where I could do the bigger projects and everything. I did it on my own without ponying up with Flintco or Manhattan or any of those. So I don't know. I'm glad Speaker Byrd moved to table this one particular one, because I think we need time to look at it. I know you're talking what you know on the legal side of it and everything, but I'd sure like for this council to look hard at this. That we're seeing more and more of this stuff coming through, of small companies partnering up with the big guys, and I think the little guys really just using his name and his Cherokee blood to get. So I think we have a motion to table it. It's been seconded, so I'm not sure we have the right to be discussing it anymore.
Got a motion and a table.
Okay, I thought a motion on the table opened the floor for discussion.
Uh-uh.
Oh, okay, my bad. So I guess we need to vote.
Can I ask a question? Are we just talking about that one?
Yes.
One, but the others would go forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so all those in favor of tabling the joint venture vote? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Just one? Okay, so we're gonna table that, get a little more information, and come back in November on that.
All right.
So now we need
Thank
to
you.
move forward with the other, 5, 6, 7,
Whatever's in the book.
8.
well, okay, so we'll go with the amended form and the ones that are in the book, with the exception of the joint venture.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Second. I have a second. All those in favor?
I have a
Oh,
discussion.
I'm sorry.
I have a discussion on it.
Okay.
Okay. And I thought we had motioned to go into this before, and I apologize, I didn't raise my hand about point of information. Probably would have been the proper thing. Foreman Manhattan, I would have abstained on this because I know Mr. Foreman, know him well. He has been a long-term TARO certified contractor. And he has done a lot of things for several community groups up where I'm from for free. And so here's my problem with, and Buell's right, there is a problem here with this guy can't bond what Manhattan can't. The same way Mr. Cooper can't bond what Flintco is doing. So we put Flintco and Cooper up on top of the hill building the clinic. And then Flintco's bonding company said, we're not going to bond Cooper and Flintco, we'll only bond Flintco. And at that point in time, without this council knowing that, a non-TARO company is building our clinic at the top of the hill. And so Mr. Foreman looked at that and he said, he called me one day and he says, why don't you guys allow joint ventures? And I said, I didn't know we did. And so he showed me the policy. The policy says no joint ventures. And I said, Mr. Foreman, the law don't say that in my mind, and I'm not a lawyer. The law does not say that. I said, I don't know who interpreted that, and I don't know how it got into the policy guideline. So the policy guideline has now been revisited, as I understand it. I think that's what I heard. And so we are now at this point to where we're allowing certain small Cherokee businessmen to join up with the Flintcos and everything else, but we didn't allow this one. And so at this point, I think somebody's going to have to explain to me how we allow this all together.
This man can't bond, Mr. Cooper couldn't bond the clinic at the top of the hill. All this council put together, including Mr. Anglin, probably could not have bonded that job. I'm thinking, is that right, Bill?
You're correct.
And so only the biggest company could bond it. That company has not been Tayro Cherokee owned for a couple of years, maybe 3 years now. I'm looking for those that know. And so now you've got a non-Tayro company from actually somewhere not even in Kansas City anymore. It's in St. Louis, I believe. That's going to take the money back to St. Louis. And so we can't let Mr. Cooper, because he got frozen out because of bonding. And Cooper's a good man. He hires almost nothing but Cherokee. I think that's correct. This man's a good man, and I guarantee you when he shows up at a job, it's all Cherokee or other native. Up where we're at, we have Cherokee, Delaware, Shawnee, and a few Osages. And his entire crew was mostly Cherokee on the No Water Community Building. I don't know about the NASA building, who all showed, but I'm telling you, when we select one over another, and we select, let's just face it, we're selecting Flint Co. over Manhattan, somebody over Redstone, somebody over somebody else. Perhaps we need to sit down and talk about what is and what is not fair and equitable to a small businessman who can't possibly bond the rehab at Hard Rock that's going to take place, or the building of the clinic at the top of the hill. And I know those are comments, there's no answers, but I wanted to make sure that you all knew who this man was. He's a longtime Tayro contractor, and he does a lot of good things for the Cherokee Nation. He is Cherokee, he believes in it. And if he could bond this job, he wouldn't have gone together with Manhattan. If Mr. Cooper could bond big jobs, he would not have gone together with Flint Co. And for somebody to say and suspect something's going on here, you're totally wrong. And I wanted to make sure everybody here knew that. And it upsets me a little bit that we're picking and choosing winners and losers. And that's all I got to say.
So we have a motion and a second on the remaining Tayro certifications. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay. Brings us down to community.
Yeah, if I may, if the basis for not approving this gentleman, and I've never met this gentleman, I don't know, you obviously know him better than I do, but if the basis for not approving his certification is solely on this notion that joint ventures are not appropriate or disfavored, it would be inconsistent with what the law provides. In that regard, there are avenues in the Tayro law that would provide him redress in an appeal, which I suspect he probably would do, because his application was certified by the Tayro office and submitted merely for consent. To be singled out and not approved for the reason that joint ventures are not favored, it would not be consistent with the law.
So you're saying that bringing it before this body for vote is strictly for show? That the body said it was approved, so we cannot argue that fact?
I'm saying that they're brought for consent, and I'm trying to understand proceeding forward if he does initiate an appeal. Is that simply because joint ventures are disfavored, or is there a particular reason why?
I don't think I gave a reason. I said I wanted to table this one. I don't think I voted against not certifying it. We do have a right to table.
Understood.
Are you aware of that?
I'm aware of that.
Okay. I think that was my motion.
Understood.
And I totally agree, and I don't know this guy, but I was glad Dick said what he said, or Councilman Lake. But anyway, I think it could be probably brought back and just enlighten us. But on the surface, I don't agree with it.
Okay.
I'm not saying I wouldn't vote for the guy, to do what he's doing, because I know what happened up here on the hill with Flint Cole and Cooper. So,
Yes, and you know, and two wrongs don't make a right. I want to review this, but I'm trusting you guys. When you guys make a recommendation, you've done your due diligence. If we need to amend some legislation that would work for our taro vendors, we're trying to put our people to work. But yet we don't want to let the little guy get taken advantage of.
Sure.
Okay, because I've been messing with taro since 1985. Okay, I mean, I was one of the very few council members who put the taro legislation together, and I see some of our people getting taken advantage of by the big guys. And you know, like Councilor Lay said, well, we did it for one. How come we can't do it for another? Well, why don't we review these? Why don't you come back and say these are the ones that's been joint venture that may be questionable? Okay? Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chairman, I've been told that I can ask to lay this motion back on the table for reconsideration, and I'm making a motion to do that.
Okay. The issue of this one has been laid back on the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
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 I think I heard 4. So we'll go forward with that certification then.
Bring it back next month.
No, he put it back to
Yeah.
certify it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, did we entertain a motion for the community assistance?
Not yet.
No, I would.
Yeah. An addition, please.
I was against, Shambo was
We've been here 3 hours. We don't
Councilor Vasquez has a change on hers.
I have several additions too,
Okay. If you could direct your attention to our accountant for changes on the community assistance to be sure everything you need to get passed this time gets passed.
Okay.
I make a motion to
Okay, wait just a minute. Yeah.
I need clarification. He made a motion to reconsider.
Vote on that.
She seconded it. We voted on the motion to reconsider. Now we need to
Vote.
re-vote on the whole
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
It's now back on the table. We need to reconsider it. We need another vote on that one item.
Counselor Crittenden, you want to clarify things?
No, I probably can't.
Go ahead.
But,
Because we
can
need some.
discuss something?
Whatever you want.
All right, now we're gonna vote on this again.
Foreman, Manhattan
Okay,
Construction.
and so these joint ventures have taken place before, right?
It is my understanding that a joint venture has never been taro certified as a joint venture. There have been joint ventures awarded bids where a taro certified vendor has partnered with another vendor. That is my understanding. Am I incorrect?
Similar to what Mr. Foreman's trying to do, right?
Except that he's wanting to certify them as a unit. Is the way I understand it.
Thank you.
Anybody who can shed some light on this is welcome to come forward. Yes.
Chairman, could I ask our attorney to come forward and/or the general? I don't care who it is. But I'm here to tell you, what went on at the top of the hill has upset me so much that I'm gonna stay here until midnight until we figure something out.
Okay. I think we need to take a 5-minute recess. Let's come back at 4:10. Everybody on this body that needs to get with somebody, do it, and we'll come back at 4:10.
Madam Chair, these, they have never had a venture or a vendor services. The only thing we've ever had is an LLC.
Hold on one second.
Okay.
is some Robert's Rule of Order. And I can do the basic stuff, but we kind of got in the weeds with some lesser-known rules. Our counsel is going to take us through. You need to reword what you asked for. She can give us some history, and then she can put words in your
I
mouth.
need to reword a lot of times.
Okay, so a motion was made to table this specific item, and that was seconded. And since you're wanting to bring it back to the table, you need to make a motion to rise up to bring this issue back to the table, because this is not something that was voted down. So that would be your form of motion. Then it would take a second, and then you would vote on that motion. And then if it passes, then you would vote on the item that you wanted to bring back to the table.
Sounds
Can I
good.
make a motion to rise off the table?
Yes, second.
You need a second.
Second.
You seconded it. Okay. So we're voting to untable. And Shelley, I think we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. Dick Lay?
And a yes is to bring it off.
what I was
Is that
just-
correct? So I see.
We are voting on a motion to rise the tabled item back to the table.
If you want it off the table, vote yes.
And that's
If
a
you want it
yes.
left on the table, vote no.
Yes means no.
Yes,
no
ma'am.
means yes.
Is that clear? Mike Shambaugh?
Yes.
Mary Bakershaw?
Yes.
E.O. Smith?
Yes.
Janice Taylor?
No.
Victoria Vasquez?
Yes.
David Walkingstick?
Yes.
Brian Warner?
Yes.
Bill England?
Yes.
Keith Austin?
Yes.
Harley Buzzard? Joe Byrd?
No.
Sean Crittenden?
Yes.
Mike Dobbins?
Going to
Frankie Hargis?
I abstain.
Wanda Hatfield?
Abstain.
Rex Jordan?
Yes.
We have 11 yes, 2 abstention, or 2 noes and 2 abstentions.
Amount?
So now you can vote.
It passed, so now you
Because-
can vote
Do we need a new motion?
to approve that one item.
Yes.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the one item.
The motion?
Second.
I have a second to approve the one tabled item. All those in favor? All those opposed?
No.
Aye.
I abstain.
Roll call or you?
Do roll call. There's only 3 no's.
So this is the
Okay, who are the 3?
Just go ahead and do a roll call, please.
Would you ask that, would you,
Go ahead, Wanda.
what are we, what are we voting?
We are voting to approve the joint venture that was listed on the Terrell certification,
To approve?
to give them Terrell certification.
Oh, okay, okay.
So it didn't pass?
We haven't voted on
We're
it yet.
voting. Roll call vote.
We done
To
a
approve?
roll call?
Yeah,
that's
what we.
We're now doing a motion to either approve the joint venture tarot item on the list, just that one item, okay?
Okay.
Frankie Hargis,
Abstain.
Wanda Hatfield,
No.
Rex Jordan,
Yes.
Dick Lay,
Yes.
Mike Shambaugh,
Yes.
Mary Bakershaw,
Yes.
E.O. Smith,
Yes.
Janice Taylor,
No.
Victoria Vasquez,
Yes.
David Walkingstick,
No.
Brian Warner,
Yes.
Bill England,
No.
Keith Austin,
Yes.
Harley Buzzard, Joe Byrd,
No.
Sean Crittenden,
Yes.
Mike Dobbins. Nine yes, 5 no, and 1 abstention.
Okay, now, we're gonna go back to the community assistance list. If you have additions, Counselor, okay, go ahead.
I have several additions, and I'll read those, and then we'll
Okay.
take the new ones. There was a new list as of yesterday that was handed out this morning. Councilman Smith Weber's Falls Museum, $400. Marble City Food Pantry, $1,000. Councilman Lay, Nowata JOM, $2,000. Let's see, Councilman Warner, Salisal Masonic Lodge, $100. Sequoia County 4-H, $1,000. K-Boys Community Action, $500. Set Free Ministries, $500. Roland School, $1,000. Councilman Buzzard, Town of Spavinaw, $800. Councilman Austin, Rogers State University Foundation, $600. Councilman Hargis, $500 for Jeremiah 29 Foundation, and $300 for Rocky Mountain 3rd and 4th grade Cherokee Choir.
Okay, Councilor Vasquez, you had one to add?
Yes, South Coffeyville School, $200.
Okay.
I had one there. Jody, Sequoia High School, I think it's a drama department. Dave, you wanna go 500 with me? Watkins State. You wanna go 500 with me on that?
Which organization?
Oh, they're going to New York. They've got some students going for some.
Sequoia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
500 each?
Yeah. I think we gave that same amount last year, Jody. You might check. At least match it.
Joe, will that provide transportation?
They've already done some fundraising, and I don't know how much they've got, but you know, you might check, see what we gave them last year.
Junior.
Sequoia County 4-H, 1,000.
Did you, okay, you added one, okay. Sequoia County,
4-H,
1,000. Okay.
South Fall Public Schools, baseball,
500.
Okay, I don't see anything else. Let's vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No. Okay, you got a new law enforcement sheet also. Are there any changes anybody wants to make?
On the Nowata County Sheriff, I'd like to hold off on that $10,000.
Okay,
Take it off for now.
okay.
Anything else? Got a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, it looks like we got new bridge access. The roads in your book must be okay. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for roads. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, sports teams.
There's no sports teams or livestock at this time. So. There's some in the process, but none.
Okay, we don't have any old business. We do have some new business. Counselor Austin?
Yes, I'd like to move for resolutions 1 through 8 to be considered in toto.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the various donations to various community organizations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Brings us to number 9, Counselor Warner.
Yes, ma'am. This is a resolution authorizing the addition of the Disability Education Initiative to PL 102-477 activities. I put that in form of a motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Here we have our budget modification. Joe, would you take that?
Yes, this is Act-Amendment and Legislative Act 26-17, authorizing the comprehensive operating budget fiscal year 2018 monitoring and declaring an emergency. Put that form of motion.
Got a motion and a second on the budget mod. All those in favor, or are there any questions? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, the motion carries. We need to glue those together. Our next meeting is November 14th at 11 o'clock. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Go home.
Yeah.